Hi everyone and welcome back to a new CAT Strategy video on Riyalizations. If you're someone who gets nightmares thinking about quants or past year CAT Quant questions देख करके you feel ये तो मुझसे बिल्कुल नहीं हो पाएगा, or if you're someone who's a non-engineer, even an engineer who feels कि maths उनका weakest section है, then this video is for you. Because in this video I take you through how I overcame my fear of maths, even though I am an engineer, but still quant was my weakest of the three sections, how I prepped well to get a 95 plus percentile in quant, and what is it that you can take from my journey. And I also have collected different strategies from different quant toppers who scored way higher than me. And I've compiled all of this information in this particular video to help you get over your fear of quant. But before we begin, I wanted to tell you two things about this section. One, quant ka syllabus only contains math topics up till class 10. Yes, a lot of application-based questions, but syllabus-wise, सिर्फ और सिर्फ 10th तक के topics होते हैं. And second, to get a 99 plus percentile in quant, you need to get roughly half of the quant questions correct. In this year also, CAT 2025, you needed just 11 questions right out of 22 to get a 99th percentile in quant. With all that said, let's get to the full quant roadmap for CAT 2026. I've divided this video into 5 sections. First, what actually quant tests, the syllabus and the topics. Second, how to study quant if you're weak in maths. Third, what to study. Fourth, how to study. And finally, what should be your strategy for attempting this paper. There's also a bonus section for quant revision and mocks. Now let's get started with the first section. What does quant, that is quantitative ability section in the CAT paper, actually test? CAT ka quant section is not like IIT JEE. It's basic maths question up till class 10, wrapped in time pressure and application-based questions. And the entire quant syllabus falls between 5 broad buckets. In the most recent CAT 2025, there were 22 questions. And here are some stats that you should definitely look into if you want to get over your fear. To get a 99 percentile in Quant 2025, you needed approximately 30 marks, which means just 10 out of 22 questions correct. To get a 95 plus percentile, you needed a minimum of 22 marks, which roughly equates to 7.5 questions correct out of 22. You need to calmly and consistently attempt 10 to 12 questions correctly or with very high accuracy. Let's come to the second section, which is how to study if you feel you're weak in maths. This requires a very huge mindset shift where you have to move from I am weak in maths to I'm just under practiced. And I say this because I've seen a lot of students who started with I'm very weak in maths, but with enough practice and problem solving and going through consistent maths prep, they move to scoring consistently well in quant. The next part is how to study and what order of topics to pick. Because if you're weak in maths, then the order that you choose becomes very crucial. Here's the most logical and trusted order that you should follow. Arithmetic first, always. Then move to algebra, then number system and geometry, and finally, selected topics of modern maths. If you're just starting out, then arithmetic has to become your best friend because it's the most basic foundation of maths. It's also the closest to real life or business maths, and also the easiest bucket for the examiner to set easy to moderate questions. If you feel you're currently scoring very low in arithmetic or that your basics are not clear, then lock in for 2 to 3 weeks and complete arithmetic end to end. Even if you feel you're very, very weak in arithmetic, one solid month of preparation can take you really high. Next comes algebra and number systems. Once you've become decently comfortable with arithmetic, you need to move on to equations. Basic equations as at first, and then moving on to inequalities, quadratic equations, because these two chunks, arithmetic and algebra, make very big section of the quant paper. Next comes geometry and mensuration, which covers circles, quadrilaterals, triangles, which is the backbone of geometry. And finally, we come to modern maths. This is where we cover Venn diagram, permutation combinations, probability. The next part is how to study, how to map the entire syllabus, how to make your question booklet, and what to do on a day-to-day level. I know the quant syllabus is huge and it can be overwhelming. What helps here is to map down all the topics of the syllabus and setting deadlines for each section. Divide the total time you have by the total number of topics that you need to cover. For example, within the 5 buckets, you list down every topic that is there. Against each of these 5 buckets, note down realistically how many number of problems you need to solve. That will give you the rough number of problems you need to solve daily, along with studying those topics. For example, you can have a goal like you need to finish the whole of arithmetic by the end of April. So for that, you will have to know the number of questions that you need to solve, the number of topics that you need to read or watch videos on, and what is required for you to do on a day-to-day level. Believe me, even if you're starting now, you have enough time till November to complete the entire quant syllabus with enough time left for revision and mocks. Then comes a very important part of your quant preparation strategy, which is to have a formula book. This is the notebook where you keep noting down all the important formulas of the topics that you're studying, all the different unique kind of questions, or the kind of questions that you usually get wrong. Maintain this one notebook till the time you start giving mocks, and it will also help you towards November for revision. Another question that I get very often is, okay, I finished one topic, but there are way too many questions to solve from any book that I've been following or the coaching material that I have. What do I do? And usually what happens is you start solving, and in the order you are always able to complete the easy ones or the medium ones, but you are never able to get to the tough questions that are usually at the end. So what you can do is you can pick a random order, 1, 3, 5, 7, or maybe 1, 5, 10, and this will help you to get to even the tougher questions so that you're not solving 5 questions of the exact same type. Also, depending on the above calculation, you have to build the habit of solving X number of questions that are required for you to get to the syllabus completion. For example, for me, it was roughly 20 quant questions every day without fail. Next, we move on to the exam attempting strategy. What should be your strategy for the 40 minutes that you have for quant? As I previously said, you need roughly 10 to 11 questions correct with 0 to minimal errors. And depending on the quantum of syllabus you've covered, there can be 2 basic approaches. First, if you have limited coverage of the syllabus, then you can aim for 13 to 14 attempts with 80% accuracy. And second, if you have almost full coverage of the syllabus, then you can aim for attempting anywhere between 16 to 17 questions with 70% of accuracy. Don't go behind the exact numbers. This is just a rough principle that I'm giving you. Don't run behind number of questions, but run behind accuracy. This is the first 10 to 12 minutes of the paper where you're scanning through all the 22 questions and making a mental note of which questions are the low-hanging fruits, the ones which are very short and familiar and will follow an obvious method. The second is the doable questions, but longer. So this is which you mark for review. And finally, the time traps or the non-doable ones, which you're not expected to attempt, which will just eat up your time if you go behind them. In this round, try to solve the low-hanging fruits, which roughly takes 60 to 90 seconds per question. And also, as you're skimming through, mark the doable ones, mark the second category ones. Then comes round 2, which is roughly 20 minutes of the paper, where you now move on to the doable but lengthy questions. The rule of thumb can be, if within the first 30 seconds you're not able to figure out कि कौन सा formula लगेगा या फिर what will be the approach, then you leave it and skip to the next one. But if you are able to get the approach, then you give 2 to 3 minutes to the question. The cap here is 3 minutes. Do not give any question more than 3 minutes because most likely it would be a trap question. And finally comes round 3, which was the last almost 5 minutes of the paper, where you scan through, recheck everything, see if you've not made any silly mistakes. This is also where you go behind the theta questions, where you're trying to make an approximate guess, because it's always better to put something, any kind of calculated guess, instead of leaving a theta question blank. Now let me briefly cover revision and mocks. Please don't wait till the last minute to start your mocks, or don't wait till you actually complete the entire syllabus before you can start taking sectional quant mocks or full length mocks. During these mocks, develop your intuition for what kind of questions you should mark for the doable kind of questions, which is marked for review. Because after the first round of attempting, you have to come to these questions and the selection becomes very crucial. And after each mock, go to the questions that you were not able to answer and see if it was doable or it was in the hard category. If it was doable but lengthy, then you have to figure out a way how to remember the formula or how to make sure that you don't get it wrong or you don't leave it the next time. Now here are some micro habits that you can adopt, which may sound very simple and tiny, but they actually help in incrementally helping your performance. One is start getting into the habit of doing small mental math questions. So like maybe you're in a stall or a shop and you need to calculate the bill. So instead of just taking out your calculator, try doing it mentally. Always be in the habit of doing clean rough work. You have no idea how much mental space a clean copy can save you. Clean rough work also reduces the chance of silly mistakes or the chance that you read something incorrectly. You don't have to restudy entire chapters if you just had a bad mock. Maybe you just need to revise certain formulas or certain types of questions. That's all I had for you in this video, and let me quickly recap all the main topics. First, you need to know the goal, which is just to get 10 to 12 questions correctly. Don't have to aim for the entire paper. Second, you have to know the order: arithmetic first, then algebra plus number systems, geometry, and finally modern maths. Map the entire syllabus, know the deadline for each topic, and that will help reduce the worry. Use the 3 rounds method when you're attempting the paper, which is first the low-hanging fruits, then the doable but lengthy questions, and finally ignoring the trap questions. Kudos to you if you watched the video till here. It's almost getting evening now, and I know the light is dimming down. I hope this video helps you change your internal vocabulary from I'm very weak at maths to, like I said, I'm just under-practiced. Go and start with one small action. Maybe it is starting your formula book or doing your 10 to 20 quant sections for the day. And make sure to share this video with some friend or family member who could use some quant motivation. And don't forget to subscribe to Riyalizations for more such CAT, MBA and general upskilling related videos. I know I've been pretty inactive for the past few months, but I'm back now with renewed motivation and a lot of new ideas. So see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.